All right. Looks like we are live. Today is the first kickoff for my new live cast for Build with Jake. I don't know if anybody has seen the announcement I posted on X. X and LinkedIn are kind of like the two places where I'm pretty much dedicating all my social media attention. So whether you're following me on X or LinkedIn, that's great. YouTube, it's also streaming to YouTube. I know with video, I feel like why not put it on YouTube? It's a platform for, easy to get to be able to pull these recordings in. I do have a special guest coming on today, Rob Rando, and Rob's going to be coming in here in a few minutes. Before I bring him in, I do want to kind of go through some updates, kind of speak a little bit to what's been happening. For anybody that's been following along any of the stuff I've been putting out with Gravity and kind of this whole journey that I've been experiencing through this process. And so I'm just going to take just a few minutes to just kind of cover that first. And then I'm going to bring Rob on. Rob was actually on the podcast back when it was Thrive Local. We had an awesome conversation, but this is going to be a little bit different because we're talking more about the case study around Build with Jake, what I'm doing with Gravity, and to be able to kind of catch everybody up on all that. But I want to, like I said, first, before I get into that, I want to just catch you up a little bit on what to expect with some of this new branding, this new direction. I'm not going to get too deep into Gravity Web Studio because we're going to talk a bit more about that when I bring Rob on. But as far as Build with Jake, like what is this? Somebody actually asked me that question on X. I had posted about it on X, and he was like, "What's this about? Like, what's the podcast about?" And I'll give you like kind of a value proposition statement to really bring together what I'm looking to accomplish. So the first thing is the conversations is really what I'm most interested in when it comes to podcasting, is having really good quality conversations with people who are doing good stuff. They're creative people, they're business people, and being able to kind of extract that value out. Not only for I think there's like multiple facets of benefits with that. It's like I personally get a lot out of it because I learn from these people, but it's also a way to kind of share other people's message with through the online channels with the world and people that are following you. It helps when it comes to kind of refining your own messaging. I just find like when you're having more conversations, you get more clarity around what it is that you're trying to do. So the conversation is kind of the nucleus behind the content, running live streams, and taking that approach. But the value proposition statement really comes down to this, and I'm actually going to read it because I've been doing a lot of reflection and documentation, but it's this. It's being your long-term creative partner for building a business that you love. Now, I want to emphasize the word love for a second, because love is, the way I see the word love is it's a verb, it's an action. So when you love your business, it gives you everything you want in life. It's not something like, if anybody read like the origin story that I posted the other day, that kind of goes back to my last company. That was a business I did not love. It took a lot from me. It took a lot from my life. It put me in a very dark place. And really this kind of next step into solopreneurship with what I'm doing in content, with building Gravity. It's like, this is actually a business that I love. And, there's just a deeper why behind, and a purpose behind helping other people also build a business that they also love. So all that to be said, there's going to be, quite a bit of content I'm going to be publishing. You can already see a few articles. If you go to buildwithjake.club, you can subscribe to my email list. I'm going to be putting out more content and just documenting. I've been in entrepreneurship for over 16 years now, so I've got a lot of lessons. Some lessons I've learned the hard way that I want to get out to the world. So that's really it. Like Build with Jake, it's just my personal brand. I'm giving more meaning to it. You can see there's some graphics. I'm a designer. I love to have fun with design. So as I continue to build this out, I'll give it the meaning it needs to have. And I'll say one last thing, and then I'm going to bring Rob on, is when it comes to this, like this is, I think, my seventh or eighth, I've kind of lost count by this point, 7th or 8th podcast since 2020 that I've launched, and every podcast before then, before this point, has all been niche down and like kind of like around some very like I had Thrive Local before. This was like all about the local business, and I love local business. But the niched podcast approach just never has really worked out for me. And I guess that's why I'm on my 8th time, because I just can't seem to kind of stick with something that's that specific, especially when you kind of pull in conversation. So another big like reason for why I'm going with the Build with Jake is because I've always been a builder. I've always been somebody that's been involved in creative. And I want this to be more timeless. Like I want to see Build with Jake like hit 500 episodes or 1,000 episodes and be something that can kind of evolve with me as I grow into what I'm doing in business and the creative work and collaboration with other people. So just wanted to kind of put that out there and give you a little bit of a backstory as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, and give you some expectation there. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Rob on. I see that he's down here in the green room, so bring him up on stage. Let's see here. There we go. What's up, Rob? It's good seeing you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Jake. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you on the first inaugural live stream for or live cast, so to speak, for Build with Jake.
Yeah. I know you've done this a long time, like podcasting, and I heard you talk about it. Being the first guest on something is kind of a cool, it's a cool little tag to put on anything. First guest on Build with Jake. If you become someone that has 100,000 podcast subscribers in the future or whatever.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's interesting because you and I have spent so much time together the past 3 months, and we've really gotten a good chance to know each other, and so much about like just the whole backstory of everything from what's happened the past couple years in my business. And I'll even share too, it's like, so I ended up hiring Rob as a consultant back in December. I think it was December 14th when we started working together. And I had I had some bad experiences with coaches and consultants. And I remember expressing that to you, like before we actually agreed to work together. I was like, I'm just letting you know, like I have had some really bad experiences, and I know I need this for me to be able to get through to the next step. But I'm just letting you know that I'm coming into this with like a lot of baggage from just past experiences. And just to give some credit to you, you were so good at not only being respectful to that initial, I guess, what am I trying to say? That initial interaction, and coming into this, it's like it's kind of like dating somebody. It's like, I've had all these bad relationships, and that's going to probably show up potentially into this relationship that we're having together. So you handled it with really good care, and you were really able to help me kind of move to a place where I have the clarity and I'm excited to have this conversation because a lot of the results were almost instantaneous, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But I just want to give you some credit there because you really helped shift my paradigm on how I look at coaches and consultants. And it's nice because that in itself is a win, knowing that now I feel a lot more comfortable in working with somebody and helping me with my business and feeling confident that there's good intention and good support there. So just wanted to put that out there as kind of to lay it out there.
I mean, also like just to respond to that, part of what makes coaching valuable, I can get into that, but it's being able to meet someone where they're at. So for you to say like, this is how I feel going in versus keeping that hidden is also what's helpful. Because if you just have this perception about how coaching goes, and then you and I start a relationship and we're really trying to dig in, get to the root of things, and there's that shield up, that's a whole barrier to get past. So, part of it is all honesty. All progress starts with the truth. So that kind of thing is helpful just to point out.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I think that's a good segue into kind of like some of the like initial reasons why I reached out to you, and what was like, I want to make this kind of a case study type of interview where you go through, what was the initial problem? Like, what was like going back to December of last year, and where was I at that point in time? And what were some of the problems that I was experiencing, and then kind of carrying it through to today. Now there's Build with Jake. I know there's some stuff that's going to be updated with Gravity, and really your guidance that was able to kind of carry that through to where it is today. But going back to the problem, there was a few things, and I went on a walk earlier today because it's like, what do we want to talk about? Like, how do we want to handle this conversation? So you might see me looking at my phone a little bit just to reference some things that I noted on this walk. But this is what I noted, kind of reflecting back to that time. And I want to hear from you what you saw from your end. But the first one is lack of boundaries. It's like, you remember I was telling, it's like there was clients, and by the way, any clients watching this, I love all my clients. It's not that, this is not saying that I have problems with clients, but there were certain opportunities that came up along the way where I felt like I just didn't have control. Like there was no boundaries. It's like being able to establish good boundaries, which also created hesitation to want to really hit the gas on growth, because you're like, boundaries are getting crossed and I'm not sure how to manage it. And I feel like if I grow, all I'm going to do is just grow that chaos into becoming a bigger problem. And it's already a problem in its current level. The other thing was, and I think like, you and I talked about this, it was like positioning. It's like, I don't think people truly understand what positioning is. And one of the hopes with this conversation today, especially by showing like a real case study, is that people will leave like having more clarity, like of what positioning actually is and why it's important, how it can help you. Yeah. But like, I felt like I wasn't attracting the opportunities I wanted. And like, when you're not positioned correctly in a market, it's like you'll get leads and it's like, like that's not really the person I want to work with. Or it's like, that's not really what I do. Or, there's like, there was some operational constraints that we went through. Like, if you recall with the, but like when people would reach out to me for website design, I was too involved on the consulting side for a lot of clients. And it's like, this is creating constraints because now I'm having to step out of my lane. Again, that really comes back to positioning. It's like, you're not positioned correctly in your business, not only in the market, but even in your own business operationally. And then the last thing I want to put, into like what I came into this with is, like, content for me was so sporadic. There was no real direction with content. It's like, what do I, I'm just kind of posting stuff as it comes up. No real direction. I feel like now there's so much more of a clear direction on how to handle content where I feel more confident on moving forward with it. It's more clear. Obviously, see all the Build with Jake stuff, so that's a good sign. But there's like meaning behind all that. And I feel like you really helped me develop more clarity around the purpose and the why of like why you're showing up. So for me, those were the big things. Like when I came into this arrangement and I was like, I need somebody who knows positioning, because I know that's where my biggest constraint is right now. And I understood the value because my last company had that same issue. And when I removed that constraint, it was like explosive growth right after that. Yeah. So I knew the value and I knew that was what you offered. So it was like, this is the guy that's going to help me get to that next level. So all that to say, that's kind of what I was, I know that problem very well because I came into it. What did you see? Like when I first came in to our like relationship and working together, what were some of the things that were obvious to you or apparent to you in that relationship?
Yeah, good question. And thanks for the recap, because 3 months goes fast and there's a lot there. It's interesting though, because you say like the first thing I think of is when you and I first started talking, the thing that was on the surface level was just feeling overwhelmed, was feeling like you didn't have boundaries. It's not like we immediately tie that and say, all right, let's reposition you. The first thing that I saw was like, well, you have a lot of different ways that you add value to your clients, that you can add value. You have lots of experiences. And I think because there was a lot that you could do, what I saw is like, we haven't really found, I guess the word I would use is authentic positioning. Like what is when you can take all the things that that you can give to someone that they value, what is the most authentic to you, and where does your energy soar? And that's what if I recall, we started in that area, kind of like the energy aligned with what other people value, right?
Yeah.
That's like kind of the first starting point. And do you remember how it kind of started? Because it's not like where we started is not where we ended. I know we had a little bit of like going down this path, and this is expected because you need to get data to go into the right direction.
Yeah.
But I remember it was like you felt like you were very much a strategist, and we can, talk about what we came away with, but that's what I remember. You saw yourself as a strategist with like these skills, and it was hard to kind of put those into what you were actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such that's one of the takeaways that I want to like bring to the table here for anybody I think a lot of people probably go through this. It's like they feel kind of like in their head, like with their identity of who they are, they feel pulled in all these different directions of like, am I a strategist? Am I a designer? Am I a copywriter? And like, am I a coach? Like, what's that thing? Like, how do I think about myself? And, in the beginning, it was interesting because I think I had done so much strategic work for clients, and that's like, I'm getting hired as a designer, but I naturally, helping people build their websites, but I would naturally kind of get pulled into a lot of strategic discussion. And like, I think strategy is definitely something that I bring to the table and I probably should explore. And we kind of started off with that. And this is like, nobody's seen this offer except for the one person who's like, I'm still working with this one person, which is, it's great. It's fine. I have no problem with it. But, and I think it's actually think it's a great idea. I mean, I'll put it out there. Maybe somebody will listen to this and will want to run with it. Is like a done with you web design type service, and like kind of having almost like a group cut. So I had explored that, as like a first step, and it's like people are not necessarily paying for your implement, like your actual done for you type service, like your service, but they're actually paying for a process. It's like, this is what I use when I go through the creative process of building a website for somebody, and you're there to kind of serve as their guide. And we had sat down, worked through the offer, and like I wasn't even like really pitching it. I was just telling somebody about it, and they're like, "Yeah, I went in. Like, that's great. Like, tell me where to sign up." I'm like, "Oh, Rob, I've got somebody that wants to actually do this now," and so I ended up enrolling this person. And anyway, it kind of like, it was like the first step into actually having somebody pay me for what I know, which was actually really
that is cool.
Unique for me. And because I've always been such a service provider, and there was an exercise that you put me through that I thought was really helpful about kind of limiting beliefs. It's like, in my mind, I thought people only value me for my labor. Like, my labor has to be involved for me to be considered valuable. And I remember, like, I was on a call with this client. I'm still working with her to this day. I was like, let's just roll with it. And I don't mind. It gives me energy. So I don't mind doing this. And I remember, there was a part of that offer. It was like, I was using this platform to host her website, and it was not a good platform. And I said on a call to her, I said, listen, I'm sorry. Like, I'm happy to give you your money back. I'm not going to use this platform anymore. I know it was a big part of that initial offer. And she kind of looked at me. She's like, oh, I don't care. She's like, I'm paying you for your wisdom and for what you know and your guidance. Like, and it was just like such a, like, even though it's not necessarily what I'm doing today, it really helped remove a big limiting belief that's actually kind of been a catalyst to like build with Jake, and this whole like personal brand, because this is really the place where I want to kind of show up in more of a thought leadership position for people. And I think that experience in early on in January, when we had that first product rollout and tested, kind of unlocked that for me personally. Is it's not just your labor that people value. There are things that you've experienced and things that and there's value in that, and don't underestimate it. So I just wanted to call that out, because I think that sometimes we can really underestimate the value that we do offer people, and it's not always tied to your labor.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things. And maybe this sounds like a tangent because I'll get back to kind of like, how we evolved and what I saw. But one of the hardest things to do is really understand what we can help others with, like where our value is. And I think part of the reason is like we try to find solutions and answers ourselves, just us, and maybe people use ChatGPT to try to like figure out, all right, like what's my niche? What is my offer, right? There's a lot of that kind of your thoughts with all the thoughts of the internet kind of interacting with you, where things really start to unfold, at least from my view, is when you have conversations with other humans, because all their thoughts are not on the internet. You're able to share perspectives and start seeing things that you don't realize are strengths. When you start talking about them out loud, it becomes more and more obvious, right? So it's like, if I can have more conversations with people and the things that you were not really thinking about as strengths, they just kind of they bubble up a little bit more. So that's what I think starts to happen when we have those conversations. But going back when we first started talking in that first early process, where you felt overwhelmed, one of the things that we wanted or we were thinking about was like, all right, what's the niche? Like, what's the person that I can really benefit? And we can almost get trapped in like trying to find like a label for it, instead of thinking one about the person, thinking about your skills and thinking about where's like really good fits, like where's a really good complementary fit where you can plug in, where someone's already in motion, and then you can kind of come here and help them. Like thinking about it in that way, I find was the direction that really started to get us where we wanted to go.
Yeah. I want you to expand on that and the concept of chapters and how people are in different chapters of their life and business, because it's like, I think that like things are so multidimensional when it comes to who it is that you serve. And it's like the person you serve today, or like who you consider to be your ideal client today, may not be your ideal client tomorrow. Or maybe they're not your ideal client today, but they are your ideal client tomorrow. And it could be that as they're moving, it's like, eventually like maybe there's an intersection point where it makes sense for you to work together. Just to kind of put it in like practical terms, or to give some color to it with an example. I don't normally like take on people who are new or startups in web design. It's just like you need, there's so much more data that you need. You need to go out, you need to actually build your brand first and start working with clients. And then, because then we can have that data to actually build the website. And so much changes too. It's like from an investment standpoint. So again, it's like not my client today, but like 6 months from now or a year from now, you might be ready for it. Yeah. So being able to, and there's so much more to that as well. We can get into like some of the strategic partnership stuff that I'm pursuing with Gravity. But yeah, just like, tell me a little bit more about how you think about chapters, like in terms of somebody's life, and how that all applies to positioning and how you collaborate.
Yeah. Let's I love that. Let's go back to the chapter example. First things first is we're all kind of operating when we're trying to do things. We're operating from our vision, right? We see our future, or like a year from now, I want to be in this place in my business. The problem is a lot of people, when they're trying to position themselves, is they're putting their vision out as their positioning, and positioning is supposed to be the thing that you help others with. So it's like vision is your thing. Positioning is the tool, the bridge, the whatever that helps someone on their vision. So if we're thinking about the whole chapter example, the way I like to think about it is you have your person, or if you think of yourself, like you're here today, and if you think about your goals and your objectives, you're really writing a story. You're creating your future. You get to do that. You get to decide, this is where I want my business to be. This is where I want my life to look like. You could think 5 years out, whatever. And then you start to move on that path, and you kind of go into different chapters. All right, well, I have to figure out this challenge, and then I have to figure out this thing. You can't really figure it all at once. You shouldn't. You're kind of going step by step by step. That's what action is. And when we think about positioning, it's really plugging into the person in that place and time, and understanding what chapter they're on. Like, what are they trying to figure out? Are they someone who has been working for 10 years? They've had all sorts of clients across all different industries, but they don't have clarity about what they can really scale with and what they really want to go in on. Like, that's a really common story for people that I work with. And so positioning as that next chapter, like, hey, you've worked with clients for what, 10, 15 years now. It sounds like you've worked with all sorts of industries. The problem you feel is like you're overwhelmed because you're doing all these things. You're not really able to scale a message. You don't have something that's consistently getting the right kind of clients. Okay, that's the chapter I'm trying to figure out right now. I know I want to build a web studio. I know I want to build assets out and be known for something, but this is the thing I'm trying to figure out right now. So instead of just thinking about like their end, think about out of the 100 things that they can do next, what's the next thing that they're planning on doing?
Yeah.
Right. And part of positioning is helping them understand that what you offer is the thing to do next. Because you talk about their pain point, and here's what I recommend. Like, you're overwhelmed. Well, have you looked at all of your clients? Have you really decided about who you can work with and who you can work with at scale? Like, who's going to appreciate that and give you the most optionality for that type of thing?
It reminds me of, so it's kind of going back. Remember the Venn diagram that I showed you?
Yeah. I love it.
Which I'll eventually will publish that as an article. But there was it's like you got kind of these you get 3 zones that you might fall in, and really there's a sweet spot when you can kind of overlap them all, because people will put out content and they'll market themselves and they're like, I just can't, like, for some reason, like, I'm not attracting clients or leads for my business, or maybe there's people that they're speaking to and they're just not interested. And it's like, until, like, you can be doing all the right things, you can be somebody that's very competent in, in what you do in your work. It's very clear that you got all the expertise and you've got the experience. You're aligning with them as part of your values and your belief systems, and you as a person, there's alignment there. And then it's like also very clear what you do. It's like, I build websites, I've got experience and I've got the skills, and, there's stuff about me. I'm a family man, and there are certain values about me personally, because a lot of people will choose who they work with just because there's certain energetic exchange there or chemistry that they just enjoy. It's like, I'm really going to be spending a lot of time with this person. I want to make sure that there's an energy alignment there that works for me, but they're just still not buying. It's like, well, that clear next step has to be in place for them. Like, if they don't see you as that clear next step, then it doesn't matter how much you sit in that sweet spot for them in terms of, it's like, like, when the time comes and if I need a website, you're the guy I'm going to call on. But right now, it's not my clear next step. I'm not in that chapter. But when I am in that chapter, then it's going to make sense, for me to reach out, assuming that the resources are, the value is there for me, in terms of what it is that you offer. Because that's the other side of it. It gets like, marketing can be kind of complex in some ways. It's as far as the psychology piece behind it. And, I think that's like so important for people to understand, on the positioning and how that, it's like, there's so much work out there in terms of like your ideal avatar or your ideal kind of client profile, but I never hear it consider the chapter that somebody might be in, or where that clear next step is for them, because we're all dealing. I mean, just think about it for yourself. Like, what's the thing that, like, if I could just remove this constraint from my life, it's just like, that's what I need to move forward with. It's all I think about. It's like all I think about until that's out of my way. I'm not concerned about anything else until that's removed. And it's
I mean, half the battle with progress, like I like this because it's going in a direction how things progress too, is that like half the battle is defining your own clear next step. Like, left to our own devices, and we know we're trying to do something. We know we're trying to build, like, you're trying to build something. Yeah. And you probably have 100 things on your task list. And you know how valuable it is for, like, you're kind of thinking about what to do next, which is time and energy, trying to plan. That's all time. That's not necessarily execution. But you spend all that time, and then if with positioning, if you can like talk about what it is you do and who it's for and like where they're at in their business or their life, and like help them, it like highlights on their list of 100 things. Like that's what good positioning is. It's having that clear next step defined in your messaging for that person who has a list of like 100 things.
Right.
And you're like, all right, well, I do this. And then all those other factors that you mentioned.
Yeah.
There's a vibe. They believe that you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're talking about exactly what it is you do. Like, you know, we can go to your value statement again, but it's like, all right, perfect. I was thinking about all these things, but I saw that your message came up, or you had reached out, or you had talked about this thing. Good. I know what to do next. I can focus on this now. Then I'll focus on that other stuff. It's super relieving. Like, as someone that also has 100 things to build. Yeah. This is what's next for me. Right.
Absolutely. Let's talk about value proposition. I want to go into, and we could talk about my value proposition just to kind of put it under a microscope as something to speak to in terms of how that all came to be. Because I mentioned it before I had brought you on. It's like long-term creative partner. I did add another little tail to it because it's, you know, as things evolve and as you continue to be receptive to your brand and how people interact with it, especially when it comes to like, because there's like Build with Jake and then there's Gravity Web Studio, and they're kind of these two, I don't want to call them entities, but there's these two experiences, I guess, that people can engage with, but there's so much overlap, and there's like this one overarching like message that kind of bonds it all together. And that's this message of long-term creative partner, so you can build a business you love. And I added that so you can, or for you to build a business you love, because that is the part that that came to me like after I wrote and published that origin story article that I shared yesterday, because I've read that article probably 20 times now. I don't know, I read it like every day, just because it like reinforces the why and the reason behind everything. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here, and we'll get into like the value proposition, I just want to set the stage a little bit, is like when somebody goes into entrepreneurship, there's this frame of mind that this is going to be something that's going to create freedom and it's going to be fulfilling. And like, there's all this positive, like they see almost like this really free and liberating life. You know, I can do life on my terms, and this business is kind of the vehicle that gets me there. And it can be extremely disappointing and deflating when it doesn't work out that way. And when you actually go into it in the complete opposite, it actually becomes almost like a prison, and it feels like something that you're trying to escape and you're not even sure how to. That's what happened with me with my last company. And that origin story, you know, I kind of start off with the last year with COVID. It was like, that was like the final straw that, so it's for me, it's like, I know that there is a lot of fulfillment and freedom and beauty in business and entrepreneurship. And there's so much personal development that comes with that. But being able to build a business that you actually love, and love as a verb and love as an action, because when you love, it's something that you do. It's like, when I love my business, that means I like, for things you love, you've got kids, I've got kids, like you show up for the things you love. You show up for your business. You do it because you want to, because you want to help grow this thing that's going to create this impact. But then there's like the prefix to it, like the long-term creative partner. And that is like the mechanism, or the, not so much the mechanism, but it's the, it's like, it's the driver of the mission to helping you build that business that you love, is by being that long-term creative partner. And creativity can be so expansive too. It's like, it's not just design. There's like creatively thinking, like how you even, you know, approach certain things strategically within your business. I think creativity shows up in so many areas. So anyway, I wanted to kind of pull that into the conversation, because that really, for me at least, it carved out such a clear vision on that I can run with. and build with that before. And I had mentioned this to you on a prior call when we were working together. It's like, I feel like I was like in this fork in the road where like one road, I'm like looking down and all I see are like little landmines, like don't go, because like, if you grow too much, those boundaries are going to continue to get crossed, and you're just going to make, you're going to keep, like, you're going to move into chaos. But now there's this just like clean road. There's no landmines. It's beautiful. It's trees. It's green. It's grassy. Yeah. Yes, there's going to be probably a few bumps I'm going to trip over as I walk down that road, because that's just life. But like, there's confidence and certainty of like taking that path now. And I think it all comes back to that one value proposition that I just mentioned, being a long-term creative partner so you can build a business that you love. So
yes. What's beautiful about what you said is that illustrates the example of behind the scenes. You're not messaging what you just said behind the scenes about your vision. You saw this fork in the road. You saw this path with a bunch of landmines. Like if you went down this certain way, the other path is the one that felt smoother because you knew the type of work that you wanted to do and who you wanted to work with. That's like the vision. And like, that lines up with now the value proposition, which is the statement, the positioning statement to people that you want to help. The word partner is, okay, this is someone that's like shaking my hand. They're not just like someone I hired to get something done one off. Yep. They want to come with me. And what you add in front of that is the thing that you're like special in, the thing that you're really going to bring. Creative long-term partner. Like you're that creative guy. So we can have a lot of assumptions and context already built in about what creative is. And you're thinking about, like teams, right? Like we're in this market where we get to build kind of small teams. You get to be that piece that's the creative long-term partner that builds the business you love. And that really kind of speaks to like, a bit of values, and also brings your story in too. But just the creative long-term partner, and that, like, you see what I'm saying, where that speaks to the person that you want to serve, but behind the scenes, it lines up with that fork in the road where it's smooth, because that's what you want as well. Like, I'd be curious what the value proposition would have ended up looking like if we kept exploring that other path that you're going down and you saw it. Like, what were we playing with there? Like, I don't even know, because we kind of picked a direction.
I mean, I think, the thing that I was really hesitant about was I just didn't want like a revolving door of like random clients. And I was like, I was getting referrals for, and I would have leads come through for like web design work, and I would get on calls, and I just remember after the call, I was like, I don't, nice guy, nice person. I'm sure they mean well, but I just foresee a giant headache coming from this. And there's something like especially with design and creative work, I've had 16 years now, like in creative services. So I've got a lot of track record and in serving and selling creative work. It's its own animal, and anybody who's ever sold like a creative service will understand kind of the nuances that goes into like the challenges when it comes to working with people. And I'll say that when you work with somebody, like, what's really important is the chemistry between you and that client. I think it also shows up too with like people who are selling like consulting or coaching, because it's like you want to make sure there's good alignment energetically. It especially becomes important because the relationship there's such a close relationship there. And when you position your business to kind of be this, more of like a short-term transactional, not saying that Gravity was positioned that way necessarily, but I wasn't really sure what the positioning was. I was building websites and I had clients, and I was like, I probably should, maybe brand this and actually do something with it. But I just wasn't sure which direction. And I started feeling myself go down that path of like revolving door clients and headaches and trying to like get receptive with their brand. And like, you want to do a good job for people and you want to, deliver good value. And it just like I think the big takeaway I came with the whole long-term creative partner is that I can do my best work as a long-term creative partner. And I can, not only for myself, like I'm going to be happier with what I do, but the clients I'm working with are going to get the best value out of the work that I do, because that's the frame of mind that we're going into this with. And we'll get into here in a second. I just wanted to give you a response to that, because that's the big takeaway for me personally, and like how I'm feeling the results of the shift. And it hasn't all fully reflected in Gravity. I'm still going to go back through and kind of update some of the messaging on that end at some point. But like right now, you know, I've got 3 brand strategists, marketing consultants that I'm working with. I'm nurturing those relationships, and ended up finding kind of a little bit of a gap in the market, even within that field. It's like, there's people right here, they've got clients, they're consulting, and they need help with implementation. So this makes sense as a good fit for a long-term partnership. It's like, you can see how that vision starts to get applied in how you make decisions. It's like, here's a person. It's like, for me, you know, it's great because they can almost be like a sales engine for my business, because they're already bringing in clients and working with them on strategy. Now I don't have to deal with strategy. I can systemize and bulletproof the things that I'm really good at, and then partner with them and bolt that onto their business. So it amplifies their value. It makes their life easier. The clients get a better service in the long run. And it's like, that's the shift, like, that you see when you go from a long-term, or going from like revolving door clients to, you know what, I'm not going after the short-term transactions anymore. I'm going to position more for the long-term stuff. I want fewer long-term relationships that I can really embed and ingrain into my business and the work I do. And that's how I want to build. So
yeah. What I'll say to that is that you're able to articulate it so well. Like, I want to bolt on. That's why you're working with these strategic partners that you had said, because you're thinking of long term. Who makes sense for long term? Like, who is going to really be attracted to that value statement? And that kind of comes by saying it out loud and what that actually looks like. And it's just super clear. Yep. And I'll say, for anyone that, like, if people aren't clear on what you want, like via what your services are or how you position it, then that's behind the scenes. That if you're not surfacing it and sharing like what you actually want, no one's going to get that context from you. Mm-hmm. Like, the example is if there's the challenge that service providers have, you said, is like a revolving door of clients, and you're like, I don't want that. But at the same time, what your whole value statement is like, I help websites convert better than anyone. So what happens? Like, their context is all hidden. You don't realize it, but people are hiring you because they want to up their conversion stats. They have a bunch of traffic. They just want to increase conversion, and they hire you and you do a good job. And that's kind of it, because they hired you for that job. They didn't associate you with, let's say, UX through the onboarding experience. Let's say retention, right? Like, if you want to be that, you have to make sure that what you're saying in your positioning, your marketing, your messaging reflects what it is you want. If you're not getting the long-term clients, like, you have to ask, like, is the context? Are people getting the context that they're going to hire me to fix something and then I'm out? And you've been there, right? You've been in that situation. Oh yeah. Just want to call it out for anyone who might feel like they're not getting what they want. Think about what context people are getting just by reading your offer, your services. Even if you're getting clients, like, ask if you're getting what you want or not.
Well, one other piece of that I think that's really important to bring to light is when you're not clear about what you want, then people will kind of make that decision for you, and that's when boundaries start to get crossed. So it's like, if I'm not really clear what I want, but people see that you are valuable in some way. And it was kind of like, I used to kind of joke around. I was like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. I can do tech, I can do design. If I need to hop in and do some copy, I can jump up with you with strategy if we need to. And it's like, do you want the knife? Do you want the corkscrew? I can be all those different things. And, but I'm not really clear on what my value proposition is. And then somebody, it's like, so you end up kind of like, people kind of make those decisions for you. And then eventually you go, wait a second, this is not what I want. This is not really what I'm looking for. And then that's when you start to have friction, and and it becomes more difficult to move forward with any plans, because I mean, depending on, the person, I just went through, well, not just this is back in 2020, but I went through 10 years where I saw this like unconscious growth that kind of led to a trap and then led to a very difficult life, like what that can actually happen, or what can happen if you're not aware of that. So like bringing it into like this kind of new chapter in business and solopreneurship and design and websites and all this. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like, I understand all the nuances now of like what comes with that unconscious growth and not understanding your value proposition and how you're positioning yourself and the energetic alignment, all those things that go with it. And because boundaries will start getting crossed, among everything that you're talking about, that's certainly very important in terms of like being able to get traction in your marketing and sales and being able to have that relationship show up very clearly for other people. There's also this side of it where it's like, is this business actually working for me? Yeah. And is this something that I love? Is this something where I feel like it's constantly violating my personal principles, and I'm finding myself, working more than I want to and taking on work that I don't really enjoy. And then now I'm like in this weird spot with this business where I'm like kind of contemplating. I put this in as a counterfactual, like you said earlier. It's like, had we not done any of this work, like what would have happened? It's like, I was actually kind of thinking about shutting Gravity down. I was like, I don't even know if this is even going to make sense. Like if I can't make it work this way, I'm just not going to do this. I'm going to figure something else out, but it's not going to be this, because this isn't really the path I want to take. So talking about results and outcomes, it's like, well, avoided that from happening. Now we're back in the growth mode, back in the build mode. And because there's clarity around the value proposition and and how to proceed forward. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't want to keep going. I'll go on whatever tangent we want. This is how our calls went. We kind of really like got in and made sure we articulated things. One benefit is is sales framing too, right? Like, okay, you said not just marketing, but also the boundaries. It's when you have that conversation. If you've taken the time to find what you do and what you don't do, you get to lead the call. The people are already interested in you. Let's make that assumption. You get to lead the call and says, look, if you're looking for this type of person that does everything, that's a Swiss Army knife, that's not what I'm providing. I'm here to plug in with this, and this. I want you to handle that thing. And that adds that adds reputation, that adds value. And for this person who's like, like the person receiving the service, they don't have to wonder, I wonder if he can help me with that or not. It's like, okay, cool. That's defined. That speeds them up. They know what to hand off to you. They know where to plug you in, and they know where they still need to find solutions or not worry about it right now. So
totally
all around.
Yeah. And when they're speaking with other people and they hear somebody present a need that they now know what you can solve for, you'll start seeing more referral business is what I'm trying to get to. So because people are very clear about what it is that you do and how you work, it becomes easier for, like, you'll see a boost in your referrals when you are able to more clearly articulate your value prop in a way that is, very clear to somebody. And it's just better serves the client too. Cause not everybody is a good fit, even if it's like the same service. Not everybody who needs a website is a good fit for Gravity. I even said that to my marketing consultants. Like I gave them a kind of like a welcome. I shared this with you, and there was like an FAQ section. It's like, I don't do e-commerce. Like if you need a Shopify website, like I'm not your guy. I don't have any expertise. I've never even built a Shopify website. I have no idea how to do it. And same goes, there's some other nuance. I just want to make sure that we're very clear on, certain things that in terms of capability and skill set as well. And I remember the consultant who I shared this with, she was like very complimentary to that. She's like, thank you for bringing light to that, because it really helps me as I'm working with clients understand where it makes sense to pull you in to these projects.
Absolutely.
And yeah. So, well, cool. This has been great. I appreciate the first interview. I honestly, I didn't do a lot of planning, and that's kind of the whole idea behind these live casts. Not that I'm against planning, but now that I've been doing, podcasting and live streaming and so forth for several years. And, the whole idea behind this is just to make it something where I can have really good quality conversations with people, talk about things that matter, and not let it, I want timeless, and I want it to be something sustainable, and making it a live stream where it can be something where, scheduling it and going live and being able to let the conversations go as they should is the plan. So, I knew we would have a good conversation. We've been kindred spirits, and we've been connected, especially very closely. I used to send Rob, anybody listening, he would get like probably like a whole book of Telegram messages from me during the week of just everything. And so you really got a good deep look into my world, into things that I'm building, and just want to say appreciate so much, like everything that you've done to help me through that chaotic period, and now into this kind of like phase of clarity and pursuit of growth. So just want to share my appreciation, and for being the first guest for Build with Jake and this new live cast that I'm going to be hosting. And any
awesome.
final words?
Can I say one thing back to you as part of the reason that I would say anyone that's going through like an overwhelmed stage, and like, everyone feels it. It's not you have all this experience. You've ran big businesses, and now you're growing this, and you're able to do it. Like you got that. The thing that I value most about you, that if anyone wants to like copy, is to say, okay, let's try this next thing, and then do that thing so we can evaluate it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overthinking that happens where I think a lot of people are stuck. Something that you do so well that I learned from working with you is that we've identified the next step. Let me do that step, and then we'll talk about if it was the right step or not. That gave us the speed and clarity which we needed. So thank you, Jake, man. It's always been great talking with you and learning that from you. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Well, I'll emphasize that last point there, because I think that's important. And there's probably like a whole episode that could just be talked about the concept of micro stepping. And it's like being able to okay, this is something we're going to try. Done with you, web design. Like, I don't know, maybe that'll work. You don't really know until you actually do it if it's a good idea or not. And once you actually start taking action on it, then you start to uncover, okay, these are some challenges that I'm going to face with this concept. And these are some of the benefits. You see everything. And once you start taking action on something, it just brings you the feedback you need to determine if it's something to continue building, or if it's something that maybe it doesn't make sense for your life or for what you're trying to accomplish. So great value add to kind of wrap this up. Rob, for people watching, right now we're on X and YouTube. I'm trying to get it synced up with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just like, you got to go through some weird approval process that I'm in right now. So it's not synced up there yet, but I know you're on X. Somebody wants to get in contact with you, sure. What would be the best step for people to take?
Just make sure I have the website name right. X and WTDcoaching.com. So win the day coaching.
WTDcoaching.com.
Yeah, coaching.com. And what I offer there is I really offer positioning, and I'm also expanding services to do that positioning at scale through cold email. So testing markets, testing messages. So that's what I'm currently working on and doing. So catch me
very
there.
Cool. Well, there's a link right there. I got it right. WTDcoaching.com.
Yep.
And go check out Rob. I am a client. As you know, we've had a good conversation. I fully endorse Rob's work and what he does in helping people through this process of positioning and getting clear. I mean, there's so much, like, I feel like positioning is really an understatement to what you do. You do so much in thought partnerships. So just really champion, everything that you're doing there. Thank you so much again, Rob. Go ahead, wrap up. If anybody has any thoughts or feedback, head over to the YouTube channel, comment below any questions you have, and definitely make sure you connect with Rob. And that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap up here. And thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks, Jake.